Pornography is more present than ever, but what many fail to realize is the impact it can have on the brain and sexual performance. It's not just about immediate pleasure. Frequent consumption can alter neural connections, change how you seek satisfaction, and even compromise your intimacy. It's a cycle that often starts subtly, but can create significant barriers to real and healthy connections. My name is Marta Rosie. I'm a urologist, and throughout my career, I've helped many people understand how these patterns affect both physical and emotional health in this video. I'll share how it's possible to break these cycles, rebuild habits, and regain the confidence to live a fuller and more satisfying, intimate life. Before we continue, check if you're already subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos on health and sexual education. If you're enjoying this content, give it a like. It makes a big difference in helping us share this information with more people. Write 1 in the comments if you find this topic relevant, or 0 if not, to help us improve the content we bring you. Have you ever noticed how some habits we develop in private show up and how we behave in public? It's as if what we do behind closed doors in those moments when no one is watching leaves an imprint we carry into the world. And this goes far beyond the obvious. Think of a man who consumes pornography excessively. He may think it's an isolated issue, but without realizing it, his behavior begins to change. He might become more anxious, impatient, or even insecure in real interactions. It's not magic, it's biology. Our brain has this incredible ability to reflect our choices, whether good or bad, in who we are every day. Now let's consider another example. Someone who constantly seeks casual sex as a source of pleasure or validation may unintentionally give off an energy of desperation. People pick up on this, even without fully understanding why this doesn't mean we shouldn't seek pleasure, but rather that we need to understand how these pursuits affect our behavior and relationships to support you in achieving a more balanced and fulfilling sexual life. I've developed the digital book, Rediscovering Intimacy, Healthy Sexuality After 60. It offers practical tips to strengthen relationships, overcome emotional and physical challenges, and renew passion and connection in marriage. The link is in the pinned comment. Take advantage of it and transform your love and emotional life. The interesting thing is that by making more conscious choices in private, we create a solid foundation for interacting with the world. A man who learns to value real moments of intimacy, for example, exudes a calm and confidence that naturally attracts people around him. This change doesn't need words. It shows in his tone of voice, his gaze, and the way he's present. What becomes clear here is that what we do when no one is watching doesn't really stay hidden in some way. These actions shape us and the world notices. This isn't a reason for guilt, but for reflection. Small adjustments can transform not only how we see ourselves, but also how others see us. And for anyone looking to improve relationships or even attract new opportunities, this can make all the difference. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have an inexplicable magnetism? It's not about their looks or what they're wearing, but something deeper. It's that person who walks into a room and suddenly everyone wants to hear what they have to say. Let me tell you a secret. This often comes from a simple sense of detachment. The idea here isn't to suggest you need to become a monk and give up everything, but to reflect on how excessive anxiety for validation, especially sexual validation, can repel rather than attract. Remember that friend who always seemed to be on the hunt? He ended up becoming predictable, while the calm, confident guy who didn't seem overly concerned drew more attention when you're not obsessed with proving something. It shows people sense this calm and confidence, and it instinctively draws them in. It's like a dance. The person who's in control of their steps without rushing makes everyone want to follow along. Let's talk about pornography. It's no secret that it's everywhere. But what many don't realize is how it can affect our brain in dangerous ways. Think of it as a dopamine roller coaster. At first it seems fun and exciting, but after a while, the ride leaves you feeling nauseated and empty. Here's the issue. Pornography offers immediate, effortless pleasure. It's as if the brain is tricked into believing it's living a life full of accomplishments, when in reality it's just stuck in repetition. This affects how we seek pleasure in the real world, making real connections less satisfying. I once met a patient who said, "I don't feel like interacting anymore because nothing seems as exciting as what I see on the screen." This isn't just a matter of desire. It's about how the brain adapts to what's easy sidelining, what's hard and real understanding. This is the first step to breaking free from this trap. Have you heard of oxytocin? It's often called the love hormone or the bonding hormone. It's like an emotional glue that brings people together. But the problem is that when we get stuck in quick, solitary pleasures like pornography, oxytocin levels drop and real relationships start to feel less appealing. Let me share a story. A man tired of superficial connections decided to invest in quality time with his partner. He started with small gestures, making breakfast together, holding hands while walking, simple things. Gradually, he noticed he felt happier and less compelled to seek pleasure elsewhere. This happens because oxytocin is released during moments of genuine intimacy. It's the hormone that makes you feel good when you hug someone you love or laugh with a friend when we prioritize real connections. Oxytocin works its magic, turning those moments into a lasting source of well-being. If there's one thing the brain loves, it's easy. Pathways. Think of a field trail that becomes marked because everyone walks on it. That's how habits form in the brain, including those we want to leave behind, like excessive pornography consumption or the pursuit of instant gratification reprogramming. The brain is like diverting from that well-trodden path to create a new one. And it starts with awareness. Think of a man who realizes he's stuck in this cycle. He begins to notice the triggers that lead to these behaviors and chooses to replace them with something healthier. A walk, a hobby, or even a conversation with a friend. Patience is key. The brain doesn't change overnight, but every conscious choice strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for impulse control. It's like training a muscle over time. Resisting impulses becomes easier, and real connections become more valuable. The reward, a more balanced mind and a far more satisfying sex life. Dopamine is like a bell in the brain that rings whenever something gives us pleasure. The problem is when the bell rings so often that we lose the ability to appreciate small moments. This happens a lot when we chase immediate gratification, whether through pornography or other habits that offer quick rewards. Think of someone who at the slightest sign of boredom turns to an traumatic behavior, like watching something stimulating or seeking quick distractions. The brain gets used to these intense peaks and starts demanding bigger doses to feel the same pleasure. This weakens impulse control and makes conscious actions harder. Now imagine replacing these habits with moments that require a bit more presence and effort, like a walk outdoors or an engaging conversation. These activities release dopamine gradually, strengthening the prefrontal cortex, the brain region that helps us make better, more balanced decisions over time. Breaking free from impulses and finding joy in real experiences becomes easier. Pornography has a curious effect on the brain. It changes how we perceive pleasure. Think of it as a shortcut full of flashy signs, but it leads to a dead end. It seems appealing at first, but in the long run, it pulls you away from what truly satisfies. Imagine a man who frequently watches pornography. He starts getting used to extreme stimuli and the expectation of easy pleasure. The result, simple moments like a hug or an intimate conversation feel dull. It's as if the brain is tricked into thinking that reality will never match the virtual. The good news is that this can be reversed when we begin replacing these shortcuts with authentic experiences, like sharing moments of affection or simply being present. The brain relearns to value genuine pleasure. It's like teaching it to say, savor each step instead of rushing to the finish line. And as a bonus, relationships become much more meaningful. Empathy is like an emotional muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets, and the results show in relationships and your own satisfaction often. What's missing to break cycles of instant gratification is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It seems simple but can be transformative. Imagine a man who, instead of always seeking something for himself, starts thinking about how his actions affect others. When talking to someone, he's not just waiting for his turn to speak, but actually listening over time. He realizes this creates deeper connections, and the pleasure of these interactions far surpasses that of artificial stimuli. Empathy isn't just about what you do for others, but also about what you gain the more you practice it. The more the brain adjusts to seeking rewards in real, genuine interactions. This creates a positive cycle. You feel more connected, lighter, and most importantly, more satisfied with yourself. Our brain is an incredible learning machine, but it can also cling to bad habits, like a dog with a bone. This happens because over time we create automatic pathways that the brain loves to follow. The good news is that these pathways can be changed even after 50, 60, or 70 years. Imagine a man who has spent years with certain automatic behaviors, like seeking quick pleasures to cope with stress. He might think it's too late for me, but neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, proves otherwise. Every conscious choice he makes, no matter how small, strengthens brain areas like the prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control and balanced decisions. The process may be challenging, but it's not impossible. A good start is identifying the triggers that lead to harmful habits and replacing them with healthier actions with patience and consistency. The brain adjusts and positive habits begin to feel as automatic as the old ones. It's like rediscovering the joy of living in a fuller, more conscious way. Maintaining a balanced, healthy sex life doesn't have to be complicated even in maturity. It's about making simple but consistent adjustments that profoundly impact your emotional and physical health. And here's the best part, it's never too late to start. Imagine a man who decides to bring more presence into his intimate. He begins with something simple like paying more attention to his breathing during intimate moments. This may seem small, but it helps him slow down, step out of autopilot, and truly enjoy the experience. Another powerful practice is valuing touch. A simple hug or affectionate gesture can release oxytocin, strengthening the emotional connection with his partner. Additionally, taking care of overall health nutrition. Sleep exercise reflects on sex. Sexual energy as well. These small steps create a positive cycle where pleasure and connection complement each other. The result, a fuller life, where maturity becomes synonymous with quality. Not limitations. In this video, we explored how excessive pornography consumption can impact not only the brain, but also the quality of your sex life and daily relationships. Talking about this is an important step in understanding how conscious choices can transform habits, strengthen real connections, and restore balance to intimacy. Now tell me, have you ever reflected on how your habits might influence your relationships? If you found this content relevant, give the video a like. It helps us share this information with more people who need to learn about this topic. Share it with friends and family, because together we can create greater awareness about such important issues. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and keep following our tips on health and sexual education. See you in the next video.